Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I have as my guest a quick change. We had Armando from Cantex was going to be here, and he had something come up that he couldn't make it, and so Zack Collevechio, was that
Close
close?
enough.
Close enough. With Varsity Branding, agreed to join us. We're going to be talking all things AI in senior living. We're big senior living fans. I love senior AI. We're big AI fans, and so I'm very excited about having this conversation. I'm hoping I'll learn some things. You'll learn some things, and it should be very dynamic. But before we get started, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Well, Zack, I don't think we met before. Thanks for joining me on this short notice. Why don't we start by just having you talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your passion for AI.
No problem, Steve. Thanks for having me. So I'm Zack Collevechio. I'm a data scientist, and I work for the Vone Group. So that includes Varsity Branding, which is a senior living focused marketing agency. And I deal with all things data science. So custom reporting, predictive modeling, analytics, and of course, artificial intelligence. So a lot of fun stuff going on these days.
Great. And so I would love to, so I it seems like every day we spend, we're a media company, we spend a lot of time on social media. Our primary platform is LinkedIn. And every single day I see articles about AI. And mostly the articles run mostly their articles are some version of AI is terrible. It's rotting our brains. It produces M dashes and it's not very good and it's not human. And I kind of scratch my head because I use it a lot and I don't see it that way. And I'd love to have you just talk about how you see AI and where the biggest opportunities are in senior living. First off, does it rot your brain?
I think it could. I think generally no, but potentially maybe. Yeah, I think AI these days. The way I think about it is it's a tool in a toolbox. It's not an entirely new thing you're trying to solve in terms of the end goal for the businesses, but it's a new tool to accomplish some things we've been trying to do already. So some of the things you alluded to, text generation, writing blog posts, crafting emails, analyzing texts. That's kind of some of the very early things and kind of table stakes of AI that has been out there. But I think more and more these days AI is advancing to connect to your platforms, get wrap its arms around your data, and really do some powerful things with creating responses and outputs that are customized to your own communities.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the uses I have, and it really amazes me that no, I haven't seen anybody else do this. So I attend a lot of conferences, probably more than most people. It's part of my job, and I have a lot of conversations with people. And then I make promises and I have follow-ups I need to do. And what I used to do is I take somebody's business card, and I try to write notes on it, and my handwriting is terrible, and I'd get back and I'd see their name and that would be okay on the card. And then I try to read my notes and I couldn't remember what I wrote and no follow-up. And so I've started using, I use Claude, and I take a picture of their badge or business card, collect whatever other information. I dictate notes into it. And then I would have it download a spreadsheet, which I then load back into my Gmail. And after a couple of conferences ago, I discovered that I was working on it and working on the languages for the email. And Claude came back and said, "Well, do you want me to just put the drafts in your email?" And I said, "You can do that." And it does a great job. They still need a little bit of work, right? And so there's so much stuff that it does. Where are you seeing the biggest uses in senior living?
Oh boy, the biggest use cases. I mean, across the whole spectrum. I mean, we focus a lot of times on sales and marketing, so that's kind of the two areas that we look at the most. Um, really a lot of the internal operations too. Think about HR, crafting, job descriptions, screen resumes, those sort of things, even accounting, verifying documents, parsing through things. So I think across the whole entire spectrum, it's impacting things. And really, I think, you see the biggest impact when you add your own data, like you with your business cards. Those are things that are specific to you. Both, your companies. It's, how do we use our documents to make AI work for us and not just getting generic outputs.
Okay, so I know you don't work for a senior living company, but let's assume that I am Acme Senior Living Company and I've decided I need to get on this AI bandwagon. And so I go out and I recruit and I recruit and I recruit, and I finally end up with Zack, who comes to work for me and say, Zack, I don't know what I need to do. If I know I need to do AI, AI is the thing. You're in charge of my AI department. Where are we going to start?
That's a great question. And honestly, a question that I think every business has asked themselves over the past 2 years is that I know we need AI, but I have no idea where to start. And the answer to that is what we call an AI roadmap. And that's a journey you can take either by yourself or recruiting some third party to help you out. And it's really, and I should say too that our company has taken this exact framework. We call an AI roadmap, went through it, applied it, and still to this day are going through it and evolving. So what I mean by that is really sitting down, taking stock, meeting with leadership, the people in the weeds, and identifying areas that are ripe for AI implementation. So think about, are there tasks that are highly repetitive? Are there tasks that are monotonous? Are there things we're doing a lot that we can maybe instruct AI to do? And then mapping those out, what is the effort that it takes? What are the data sources we need to inform it properly? And really trying to map what's worth pursuing and what's not worth pursuing, and then creating a plan of, all right, this is the task we want AI to help us with. What are the steps to get there? And then really just doing that for your entire company, iterating through, and then just knocking them down. And the biggest thing there, I would say too, is also start small. If you're just starting in your AI journey, you don't want to tackle your hardest hitting problems, but really getting quick wins, doing small pilots, so you can say, hey, we started out, identified this small task, automated it, took it off someone's plate. Now we can move on to the next one.
So, what do you say to people when they say, I've tried AI and it doesn't work very well? Or, yeah, let's start with that one. And then I want to actually talk about inaccuracies a little bit. But let's start with when you talk to somebody who said, yeah, I tried that AI and it's not very good.
I'd say it's not an uncommon thing, honestly. I think, but AI is a skill as well. You know what I mean? AI doesn't come out of the box, equipped to best answer your problems. Again, going back to my point about providing it your data, your information, the right context, the appropriate prompts. It's one of those things that you really get better at the more you play with it. So it's kind of like any skill in life. You wouldn't expect to be the best basketball player if you never shot a ball before. Same with AI. Is it takes practice to figure out what's the best way to get it to behave the way I want it to. So really, it's the more you play with it, the better you become at it, and the better it works for you.
So there are two areas that I hear a lot of concern about, and that I'd love to have you address. The first is that AI makes things up. And I've experienced this. One of the things, I didn't do this with you because of the quick change, but normally when I have a guest on, I've actually built a little project in Claude where I drop somebody's name in. It builds me a 2 or 3, 4-page sort of dossier on that person. And then I go through that, make some notes, and it gives me a sort of a list of starter questions for my interview. And I've had twice where I've done that, where I did it sort of on the fly, didn't have enough time. And in one case, one of the questions was somebody who'd been trained as an attorney, but was a leader and an executive and a senior living company. I said, well, so what did, and this was a question that came straight out of AI. I said, so what did being a litigator teach you about being an executive? And of course, he'd never been a litigator. He'd been an attorney, and it just led me down the wrong path. So, how do you respond to that?
So definitely a lot there to respond to. I would say one, it's definitely a valid concern, and hallucinations are definitely a real thing with AI. I will say that the rate of hallucinations has decreased dramatically as the models have gotten better. Obviously, these companies know that people are using them for enterprise use cases, and we can't have inaccurate stuff being outputted. So naturally, as the better models have come out, it's gotten less of a concern, but still a concern. So number one thing I would say is always verify the outputs. Even though AI is super powerful, it does web searches, it presents text that looks really good. At the end of the day, the human is responsible for the outputs. I like the analogy of you can't make a mistake in Excel and blame the calculation. It's like, oh, Excel gave me the wrong number. It's like, well, you put it in there. So ultimately, and sometimes unfortunately, we humans are ultimately held responsible for the end outputs. That being said, there are things you can do to mitigate it, I would say. Again, this goes back to giving as much context as you can. If you can put in some of your first party data, kind of guide it before you just let it go off. The more guidance you can give AI, the less prone it is to going off the rails. So if you can say, hey, this is so-and-so, here's their LinkedIn page, here's what I know about them, that kind of gives a jumping off point and not just letting AI frantically find what it can, and which may or may not be right.
Well, and I would say the other thing that I've actually done in my particular project is I basically went to it and said, okay, you did me in, you got to make sure everything is accurate. And so it actually does its own internal check. It's developed its own checklist, and it actually puts that checklist up and says, these are the things I verified. These are the things I think. These are the things you should actually ask the guest about before you talk about them, because I found it someplace, but I don't really know. And so it can even do that work, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think to that end, one of the things that's also a good tip is starting as narrow as you can with your tasks for AI.
Yeah.
So rather than saying, hey, do everything that I need in this one chat or this one agent, it's, hey, I need you to do a specific thing. This is how it's done, and this is how it should look. And that way it's kind of very focused on one thing and not left to its own devices to again, go out and try to interpret what it means. So the more sequential tasks you give it, the more prone it is to variability on the back end.
Okay, good. So one of the things that I find as I use AI is that it works best when I have conversations with it as if it were a human, even though I've got to remind myself that it's not human. But I've got to treat it in a very human way. But I know when I talk to people about doing that, it makes people very nervous. And I understand the concerns that you don't want to, it is just a machine. It's a computer sitting someplace in the world, right? That is not real. It has no feelings. It has no affection for me, even though it pretends to have great affection for me. So how do people I sort of know how I've done it, but I know this is a struggle for a lot of people. As you talk to people as an expert, how do you talk about this?
About AI and how you should interact with AI?
Yeah, I mean, how do you, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny, is that I think the way most people do interact with AI, myself included, is not the way you need to interact with AI. And that's more of an artifact of us talking to each other. You know what I mean? If I'm going to send you an email, I'm going to be polite, I'm going to format it professionally. And that's kind of just a habit now. So when I'm talking to AI, it's more the same. So I don't think you need to feel bad or weird for talking to AI the way you would a person, because it's very, similar to the same style and stuff. So
yeah. Okay. So talk to me about how AI is being used in the world of sales and marketing and senior living. It's been a while, but I remember having conversation with a somebody who ran a different marketing agency, and they were very, very concerned that AI was going to destroy their business, that operators would go use AI and decide they don't need agencies anymore. That's obviously got to be part of the discussion that happens internally, is where that role plays. And I guess maybe even I'll ask the question sort of more directly. With AI, why do I need Varsity?
Great question. Oh, I think um, senior living communities in particular are great for AI implementations because of the wealth of first party data that they own. And by first party data, I mean the data that's proprietary to you. Anybody, like I said this before, anybody can go on the internet and use ChatGPT, anybody can use Claude or whatever other AI platform you have and ask it the same questions. That's not what is special to you. Anybody can say, "Make me a great marketing plan," and you're going to get similar answers depending on what else you give to it. What really differentiates your AI usage is what you can or what you can give AI that nobody else can. And for senior living, it's data. Think about all the data in your CRMs, your marketing automation platforms that nobody else has. You have all this information about how many times someone's come to your website, what websites they've visited, how many times they've interacted with our sales counselors. Did we call them? Did we email them? Where do they live? What's the demographics? All this data that we collect on people. And for most people, for most communities, that just sits there. Yes, sales counselors might use that when they're following up. They might read the notes a little bit to refresh the memory. But for the most part, we collect it and it sits there and does nothing. But I think this is where one of the main areas AI can help in is using that data to really close the sales process. Thinking about automated communications, thinking about more personalized targeting, knowing that stuff. You might know that, hey, John Smith came to the campus tour and he called out the dining hall as one of his favorite attractions. We might have an AI agent that's going through the notes and saying, hey, we haven't heard from John Smith in 2 weeks. Let's send him an email and mention the dining hall because we know he likes it. So personalized marketing, automated marketing, and pulling all that data and putting it to use.
So I think that one of the things that is really hard with this is I was asked to do a little bit of consulting for a company that had looked at several hundred call logs between salespeople and prospects. And they used that to start building some personas and put together this really lovely picture of some personas. And it was, it looked really, really good. And then they handed it to me, somebody who's got really deep knowledge of the industry. And I could see some big holes in it that AI didn't uncover. And I think so. And so I was sort of poking this question of why do I need an agency? And really, from my perspective, the reason you need an agency is you need to have it's a different kind of broadness, right, that a human has that the machine doesn't. And so how do you make that all work together?
Yeah, I think it's definitely valid. I mean, there's who is prompting the AI is a huge factor. And I think what you're getting at is the experience component. I mean, again, same thing. Anybody can go and say, make me personas. But who has the internal knowledge to say, well, this is kind of looks good, but this thing's a little wonky. Let's tweak this. So I definitely think there is value in the operator of the AI to still impart knowledge, and that's across any discipline, whether it's marketing, sales, data analysis. I think any industry, any role, it's hard to fully get around the human in the loop components and fully automated. So I think imparting that knowledge is definitely key.
Great. So when I am building an AI powered, AI enabled, you probably help me on the best term on this um, marketing process. Where do I start?
That's a good question. And I think the answer changes probably every week because it's such a evolving field. Who has the best model changes every week. They're always in competition, dropping new features. Um, I would say if you're just getting started and still not where to start, or still not sure where to start, try one of the main providers out there that you're familiar with. Claude is a good one today. You mentioned even ChatGPT is still good. You could use Gemini if you're integrated in the Google networks. Um, but make sure you pay for the subscription is a key thing.
Yeah.
One for privacy. Paying for it keeps all of your data private and is not used to train the model. And two, it also gives you more features and better models. So they do kind of downgrade your performance and what you're able to access if you don't pay. So um, play with the models, upload your data, ask it questions. You just ask it, hey, what can you help me with? Describe your role, describe some ideas you're trying to look for, and see what it tells you.
So as a for instance, I could take and do a big data dump out of my CRM of everything I've got for say the last 6 months or the last year, and I could dump it into Claude or ChatGPT and just say, "What are you seeing here?"
You could. I mean, it's a place to start. It can give you some ideas. Again, it's definitely more impactful, I think, when you provide the guidance of, hey, here's generally what I'm trying to do. Start with the goal in mind. That's kind of a key topic too. Is what do I want to accomplish with AI? Do I want to shorten my sales cycle? Do I want to attract more leads? Do I want to attract higher quality leads? Um, and kind of start the brainstorming there. That way, you're starting with the end in mind and working towards that goal, and not just wandering through a conversation with no end in sight.
Okay, so let's actually walk down one of these paths a little bit. I have a contract with a place for mom carrying. I get all these leads. They don't do much for me, but I get enough that I keep paying for it because once in a while I close one, and they're really, really frustrating. And how can I use AI to help me do this better?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely help there. I think that's one of those things where the more information that you're able to give to your AI to understand the context, it's going to give you better answers. So again, that's going to start with a data upload of your leads. You're going to say, hey, these are the leads from this source. These are the leads from this source. Then we can see where they're dropping off. Can you compare the number of touch points? Can you compare maybe which sales counselors impacted them? Was there anything different about their journey through the funnel? And really just trying to analyze those things. Again, not something that's groundbreaking in terms of this analysis is it was possible before AI, but now we're using AI as kind of a tool to make this more accessible to non-data analysts. Everyday people can go in and say, "Hey, I have a problem. Here's the data. Please help me out." I think that's one of the more powerful uses of it.
So one of the questions, I guess, as we're talking here, and I'm thinking about again, sort of aggregator leads. I don't even know that if this is allowed, but could I set up some sort of an agent or a bot that every time I got an aggregator lead, it would go through and read it. It would also take a look at the things that make my community unique and special, and immediately pump out an email, a text message, or even a phone call? And what about the ethics of having a machine call as a person?
That's definitely possible. I would say that's an advanced use case, but more and more that is within reach. And I think we're really seeing that in AI going beyond the chat box or the chat bot these days. Before it was you go to the website, you chat, and that's kind of the end of AI. You're copying and pasting things. It has no access to anything else. But more and more, these integrations are being made. So with your CRM, with your ad platform, with your database, where all these things are being hooked up, where it is possible to do those things. Set up agents that are running autonomously. You can kind of set up the steps it takes. Hey, when you receive the lead, run it through this process. Add this component and then push them to this new database. Phone calls, I think, are still a little in the nascent stage where I don't know if I would trust AI phone calls immediately,
Yeah.
but definitely emails, notifications. That's being done today by communities where, um, those nudges and emails are automated based on what we observe in the CRM and all the actions. And a lot of times, you're not even trying to hide the fact that it's AI generated, but
Yep.
you just can't really tell the difference because they're so good at mimicking human writing styles.
Yeah. Well, as I use AI to collect content at contacts and task at conferences, I'm very open about what I'm doing as
Yeah.
I'm dictating this, and that I talk about how I'm going to use it to create drafts. And I will tell you that one of the things I'm finding the last set I did, I was really surprised at how little. I had to actually fix in the draft each one of the drafts, and a fair number of them I could just send as created because it's gotten to know me, and
Yep.
so I think that's such a critical part of it. Here, the other question I have for you, and this is something because this is very personal for Foresight, right? Is that we're trying to figure out is we put out some content on LinkedIn and it just goes crazy good. Like 2 days ago, I posted up a kind of a fun little thing about how I wish I had signed up to run for governor for the state of California because it actually turns out that it's really easy to run in the primary. For governor, it's a like $2,500 filing fee, and then you could say you're a candidate for governor in California. I was too late for that, but I am going to run for Senate in 2028 because it's even easier to do that. And the thing has just gone crazy. It's in 24 hours, less than 24 hours, it's been looked at. It's got 3,000 impressions, something like that, and a number of comments, a number of likes, and then we put out stuff that's really good, solid content, and it gets looked at 6 times.
Yep.
Can I use AI to fix that?
I don't know if you could use AI to fix it. You could use AI to try to analyze it, but I feel like the virality is really stroke of luck sometimes. But no, I mean we've definitely tried that. Of you can use AI to quantify different measures that are typically seen as unquantifiable. So, what about this post? Do you think makes it viral? Is it the caption? Is it the image? Is it whatever else? And can we again quantify those different things? On a scale of 1 to 10, how creative is it? How quirky is it? And then can we use that to then guide future creation?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that some of it is very serendipitous, right? That it may be just simply what else it's competing with at the moment. So except for Mr. Beast, I don't know of anybody who's sort of consistently able to get that virality. I guess there are probably some others, but
Yeah.
yeah. What do you think? Let's just sort of dream for a little bit. 5 years from now, how are senior living communities going to be using AI?
So definitely more personalized, I think. That's kind of where all the value is derived. Is all of these large language models, which is what we're typically talking about in AI now. They're really good generalists, and we don't need generalists for our communities. We need AI for me,
Yeah,
and that's kind of what is really giving you the power. So we're kind of already waiting in that now. We have a platform called Grunt that really takes that step where it's automatically pulling in all of your own internal data. How you do tasks, how you don't do tasks, how your company, your brand is, your brand voice, your logos, your tone of voice, all that stuff. So that when you're using AI, it's already catered to you. I think that's kind of the main thing is, again, basically AI is going to be an employee in the background that knows all your systems, has access to all your data, it knows the way you do things, it has examples of outputs that it should try to, strive for, and personalize everything it does to your own company.
So one of the things you said, I think that it really hits home with me is that it'll be your backroom employee. But one of the big challenges I see with AI is that, and this is where AI and humans are a lot alike. They tend to want to kiss up to the boss, and
Yeah.
so they're going to tell their human. A human employee is going to tend to tell their boss what they think their boss wants to hear. And AI really does the same thing. So how do you counteract that? Because that can be really dangerous.
Yeah, the human in the loop is definitely still a popular model, especially because we're still so young in the AI cycle. I think as AI becomes more ubiquitous in the workplace, we're going to have an easier time of trusting uses. And I think you gain that also by seeing it seeing it live. So, for example, say you have a triage bot that takes in incoming leads and scores them or sends them out. At first, it could be hard to trust that running without anybody seeing it. But then after you see, like, hey, it ran for a week or a month, and generally it does as good or better of a job than a person would, then it's like, okay, now I can handle it and I don't got to worry about it. You still want to check in periodically to make sure it's on the rails, but less of that constant oversight, I think, is going to be needed.
Cool. This has been really, really good. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
I don't think so. I thought that was a pretty good conversation.
Great. Well, Zack, before we go, I want to give you a chance to sort of plug who you are, your organization, where people can find you.
Yeah, so thanks again, Steve. I'm Zack Collevechio. I'm here for Varsity Branding. You can find me on LinkedIn. Um, Definitely reach out if you have any questions. I love talking AI. We're always on the cutting edge of things, so doing a lot of cool things. If you have any questions, reach out. Love to chat AI roadmaps, more personalized AI solutions for you, and all that good stuff.
Cool. Zack, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for stepping in and the last minute. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great conversation, a great weekend. Jada, thanks you as always for producing in the background. And we will be back next week with 2 new great shows.